here. I'm just getting the restream set up. So how about this? Listen to this. We got Daryl in Atlanta, Georgia. We got Jared. What's up, Jared Hoops in Ohio? Deb, the great Deb Saunders. Have you heard about her transformation? It is incredible. There's Deb in Utah. There's Brian. What's up, Brian in New Orleans? We got Jeannie Balcom in New Brunswick, Canada. What's up? Lucretia in North Carolina visiting her granddaughter tonight. Thanks for tuning in, Lucretia, despite being with family. That's awesome. Sandy in Ohio, Brittany in Wisconsin, Cindy in Wyoming, Tanya in Minnesota, Renee in Camden, South Carolina. We've got SMC, username SMC in Carson City, Nevada. Did you know that Carson City is the capital of Nevada? Most people think Vegas, but it's actually Carson City. All right, Rosemary in Tennessee, Cassandra is in Wyoming, Ben in Central Florida, Ron in West Glacier, Montana, Tony in North Carolina. We've got a Zoom user in Northwest Arkansas, Pina in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. Joyce is in Wilmington, Delaware, Shirley in Alabama. We've got the great Lisa Gent. Lisa in Dundas, Ontario, Canada. Hey, Lisa, nice to see you. Paul in Arizona. John Cox. Hey, John in Ohio today. Dina is in Red Deer, Alberta. Linda is in Baldwin, Mississippi. We've got Jay in North Dakota, Cindy in Houston, James in Kansas City, Bella in Northern Indiana, Denise Lucas in Cleveland, Ohio, Juanita's in Baltimore, Gary's in St. George, Utah, and we've got about 30 more that I will not have time to read. People tuning in from all over the world, pouring in. We have 165, make that 167. No, it's 171 and 173, 175, and counting in the live chat. I'm going to go ahead. We better get this show on the road and get started. Welcome, everybody, to this call. We're glad that you're here. This is a call, and I just realized as I pushed the record button, of course, that I don't have my screen share set up. So we're going to be building the boat on the water tonight, but we're glad you're here. We do these calls every single week, and the calls are science calls primarily about metabolic health. And so if you're on this call, or if you were invited to this call, somebody loves you, cares about you, and wants you to know the latest and greatest on metabolic health. Or perhaps you are a metabolic health nut, like many of us. You study this stuff, you read it, you breathe it, you eat it, you sleep it. If you're passionate about helping others, if you want to make life better for people all over the world, these calls are a way to do it. In fact, just a couple of years ago, we got started with these calls with a very small handful of us doing these calls. And over the last three and a half-ish years, it's just been incredible. There will be hundreds of people on tonight's live Zoom call. In fact, there already are a couple hundred people. And then through our restreams, there will be 10, maybe 20,000 people that see tonight's call. And tonight we have a very good one with some incredible guests. In fact, tonight we have Shanna Husson, the registered dietitian that many of you likely follow on Instagram or other social media apps. She is the best. She is one of the best teachers that I have met. And she's going to be teaching us tonight all about intermittent fasting. Who is fasting for? And maybe who is it not for? And how can somebody maximize their fasting if they're using intermittent fasting as a tool? We're going to get to that and much more later. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. We got people from Japan, people from Canada, people from Illinois, people from Trinidad, people from Michigan, and all over the world. Welcome everybody to this call. We're so glad that you are on this call tonight. We're going to kick off with a little screen share. And this is something that I have been thinking a lot about. And so I'm going to just share my screen as we kind of set the table for tonight's call and before we bring in our first couple of guests. Okay. So I know that many of you are from around the world, but I also know that many of you are right here in North America. And what I'm going to share is about North America, but actually is the exact same all over the world. This is not just a North America problem or a United States problem. This is an everywhere problem. In fact, the Middle East is sicker than we are. And there's an argument to be made that India and East Asia are sicker than they are. And this is a global problem. But just think with me for a second about this. I mean, this should really make you think. And if you had any question about who is running this country, I think you're about to find out, okay? So there are 270 million American adults. What percentage of American adults do you think is on drugs? And when I talk about drugs, I'm not talking about recreational drugs. I'm talking about pharmaceutical drugs. What percentage of American adults are on drugs? How many are left that are drug-free? Well, in the United States alone, there are more than 47 million Americans on statin drugs. These are cholesterol-lowering drugs, drugs like Lipitor and Crestor, for example, right? There are 60 to 90 million Americans on high blood pressure medication, okay? Drugs like lisinopril, for example. Now, if you go to your medicine cabinet, there's a good chance that you or somebody in your home is on one of these drugs. And hey, we're not here to shame anybody. I mean, drugs can be life-saving. We believe in minimum necessary medication. And we also love the medical professionals who have given their entire lives to help people stay out of the ER and be healthy, right? But just look at the math here a little bit. So 60 million, maybe as many as 90 million on high blood pressure medications. There are 30 plus million on blood sugar medications like metformin, and that number may be closer to 50 million, okay? There are at least 30 million, and this is going up every single day, on Ozempic and other GLP-1 medications. There's another 30 to 40 million or more on anxiety and depression medications, things like SSRIs, okay? And we are just getting started. What about all the other drugs for all the other conditions? What about the autoimmune conditions? What about the insulin prescriptions, right? If you just look at this math, and for sure, there is some overlap, right? Some people are on all of these medications or have been on all of the medications. So there is some overlap, but that would leave only 68 million adults who aren't on drugs yet. And for all we know, those are the adults that are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. If we look at a cross-section of 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds and beyond, there's almost no drug-free Americans. Now, if you're a pharmaceutical company, this is music to your ears, right? I mean, what would it feel like to have 70% of the American population on one or more of your products indefinitely, forever? Because we all know that these drugs don't actually solve the root problem. Oh no, these just mask the symptoms. They allow us to live with the symptoms indefinitely. This is very expensive for the American people. Whether they are paying for it or it's subsidized, they are paying for it. We're all paying for it. There's no such thing as free lunch, right? And we're paying for it in ways that are much more significant than just financially. And so this is a problem. I mean, can we agree that this is a problem? Can we agree that none of us as little kids aspired to be lifelong drug users, right? We all aspired to have our golden years be our golden years, right? And so we want to do something about this. And this is why we have these calls every week. And, you know, people come to these calls over and over and over again because there's always great education and because we are doing something about it. And if you doubt that for a moment, you just sit tight, buckle up, and wait until you hear some of the stories on tonight's call. You will be blown away. There will be a couple of great guests. There will be one super awesome registered dietitian, a professional that's going to be talking to us. But then at the end of the call, we're going to do something really special where you will be swimming in proof. Now, most of these drugs, most of these conditions, most of the world has been stricken with two culprits, two main problems, okay? Let's just talk about these briefly. The first one is a problem known as insulin resistance. Now, if you don't know what that is yet, don't worry. You're going to find out in the coming years. Everybody will be talking about this. Everybody in the higher up circles is already talking about it. We now know that it's insulin resistance that drives things like obesity and fatty liver and diabetes and migraine headaches often and mental health problems like Alzheimer's and dementia. We know that insulin resistance, is the driver behind the number one killer in the world, which is heart disease. Insulin resistance is the number one contributor to PCOS, the number one cause of infertility among women. So this problem is one of the reasons, this big problem in the middle, the insulin resistance, is one of the reasons why we're all getting sick and many of us are getting on drugs, okay? A second culprit would be a problem known as gut dysbiosis, okay? You could call it a damaged gut, a leaky gut, some people call it. What happens is when the gut microbiome gets damaged, we lose control of our health. We lose control of our skin health, our hormonal health, our metabolic health, our respiratory health, our mental health, our overall health. And so autoimmune conditions are everywhere, mental health problems everywhere, right? And both of these problems, both the dysbiosis and the insulin resistance, are primarily driven by processed food. See, when they process food, what does it mean? What is processed food, right? The process of processing food is actually the process of removing fiber from the food. And so on a population basis, as food makers has taken fiber out of our food, we've become progressively insulin resistant. Fiber in food is actually what helps us control our blood sugar and our insulin and our cholesterol and our triglycerides and our gut microbiome and our appetite. Fiber is the satiety mechanism in food, the thing that makes us feel full and says, okay, enough, no more food, remove the fiber. And these food companies have done that. And we will eat and eat and eat and never be satisfied. What a great thing for their business, and what a horrible thing for our health. And so these processed foods, which are hyper palatable. Now, what does that mean? It means they are engineered to be delicious and addictive. These hyper palatable processed foods are driving the gut epidemic and the insulin resistance epidemic, right? But we're doing something about it. And what we're doing is the coolest thing on the planet, if you ask me. I mean, we are literally educating people out of their problems. And we're doing it with two special tools, okay? One of these tools is a little bit more fiber. If they took the fiber out and we all got sick, maybe if we bring the right types of fiber back, some of us might get unsick. That seems pretty novel, right? The other thing that we're doing is we're intentionally taking breaks from food. We have to intentionally take breaks from alcohol in order to sober up. And we have to intentionally take breaks from food in order to sober up from this metabolic health epidemic. And so we call that intermittent fasting. And that is the topic of tonight's call. And we've got one of the best in the world to teach us on it in just a moment. So for this call, we have a couple of guests. We'll get to those first. And then we've got our guest of the night, Shanna Husson, who we'll get to. And then we want to make sure that you understand the exact protocol that we're following to break the chains of bondage from insulin resistance and from gut dysbiosis so that you can too. Okay. So let's start with a quick story. This is a perfect stranger. In fact, the very first conversation I have ever had with Tony was just a few hours ago when I heard about her story and we were preparing for tonight's call. And so Tony, I don't know a lot about you. Maybe to begin this call, would you mind just telling everybody who is Tony? Where are you from?
Okay, I'm Tony. I'm in North Carolina. I'm from New York, and I'm a certified life coach.
Okay, awesome. And Tony, I understand that you've only been on this protocol for how long?
11 days.
You've been on the protocol for 11 days. So just 11 days. And Tony, where were you at with your health prior to starting this protocol?
Okay, I've been in a wheelchair for 5 years because I have bone-on-bone arthritis. I've been under managed diabetes care for 25 plus years because my blood sugars seem to always be out of control. I have neuropathy. My left eye is blind. I have insomnia, obesity, fatty liver, leaky gut, inflammation, 24/7 pain, plus so many more to go into here.
How long have you had insomnia?
I've had insomnia since 1979, since I was 18.
Okay. How long, or when you say you've had high blood sugar, what are high blood sugars to you?
Well, to give you an example, since I started the protocol, they've been ranging between 350 as a low and high, and on high is over 600.
Okay, so your blood sugars for you, a regular range, historically has been in the between 300 and 600. And guys, 300 is high, very, very high. 600 is off the charts high.
Yeah,
Um,
that.
And so you've had very high blood sugar. And then tell me about the neuropathy pain you've experienced and about how long that's been going on.
That's been going on for over 25 years too, as long as I've had the diabetes.
You've been on this protocol for 11 days.
Hmm.
What has happened so far?
Today, when I did my blood sugar, it was 106. Then I did it an hour or so later just to make sure I wasn't seeing things, and it was 90. And I did it about an hour ago, and it was 105. So it stayed constant all day. It has never done that in 25 years. Never, never.
What's going on with the insomnia, the neuropathy, the obesity? Tell us the other things. What has happened over the last 11 days?
Well, I started on day 2, I started sleeping, uh, which blew my mind, and it's day 11. So I've gotten 10 days of sleep in a row, which has not happened since I was 18. I know it's hard to believe. I don't even believe this. It's like my husband doesn't believe it. My family doesn't believe it. It's like we're all blown away at all the things that have happened to me so far.
You mentioned something earlier about the neuropathy. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, on day 6. Now, it could have happened before then, but that's when I noticed it. On day 6, the burning, the pins and needles, and all the pain was gone. All that was left is numb, and that's getting better every day. And on day 7, I did my weight loss, and I had lost 11 pounds. Plus, it was the first day I've had a regular shower in over 3 years, because I couldn't stand up. I can't stand up for a long period of time. It was only like 20, 30 seconds, and I was able to take a shower. It was my birthday gift to myself.
Well, you're getting a lot of love in the chat, and we're so happy for you. It's just awesome, Tony. Just awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we move on to the next story? How is this affecting your daily life right now?
Well, on day 3 was like the best day, because we left my house. Usually I only leave for doctor's appointments because it's too painful going to the car from my steps. And I didn't need any help. My son and my husband were blown away that I didn't need help. I was walking down the steps, no pain. And I am truly grateful to Unicity. It's only the beginning. I can't even imagine what my life is going to be like. And I'm totally grateful for everything I've achieved so far.
Well, we are so happy for you, Tony. And this is an awesome story. I mean, to have this type of feedback 11 days in, we often hear from people 60 days, 90 days, 6 months in, a year in, and we hear great things, but we lose some of the emotion that happened in the early days when they started to notice these dramatic changes. And so we're happy for you. We'll do an update in a couple months. I'm sure everybody would love to see how you're doing in a couple months. And I'll just say this. I I've seen that these results are usually almost always progressive. And if you just use it properly and are consistent and stick with it, it's just going to get better and better. This is just the beginning. Thank you, Tony. Loved having you on the call, and we'll have you back sometime soon.
Thank you.
Okay, well, this is why we start the calls with these stories. Isn't that awesome? I mean, isn't that awesome? Is there a loved one? Is there somebody you know or care about who is suffering with things like obesity, high blood sugar, insomnia, neuropathy? Gosh, what else was there, right? That is hope. That is that is hope inspiring, right? Okay, that is awesome. We're gonna do one more. And this is a guy who I saw on a call the other night, and he and I were on a call together. And when I saw him, I just about fell over because he looks really good. And this is Scott Harker. And Scott, you'll have to remind me. Are you from? Is it Indiana?
Yeah, Columbus, Indiana. Yes.
Okay, so maybe I'm stealing your thunder. Who is Scott Harker? Tell us where you're from and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. My name's Scott Harker. I'm from Columbus, Indiana. I've been an engineer in Columbus for over 34 years, working for a Fortune 500 company as an electrical engineer, and also studying gut and metabolic health in the background in my story. So I can share that whenever you're ready for me to share that story. So.
I love it, man. I love it. So Scott, yeah, tell us, where were things at with your health prior to starting this protocol?
Yeah, so before this protocol, just a little bit of background, I'd had a long history of ulcerative colitis. And also, I was just really, really in tune with that because my father had died of colon cancer. I've dealt with a lot of polyps and things like that. And so I'd been really studying about gut health. And I got that under control pretty much before the Feel Great system and started using that. But I was still dealing with pre-hypertensive, dealing with a lot of cravings. I had a lot of excess weight, and even though I studied that and really understood it, I could not get rid of that. And also starting to deal with inflammation. I'm 52 years old and starting to get that achiness in my joints. My hands were stiff. I just and losing energy. And I'm an extremely high energy person to begin with, and I started to feel like, wow, I'm starting to slow down, right? And we're just in April, it would have been a year when this protocol had been introduced to me by Alan Kashner. And he shared the protocol with my wife and I. My wife was also dealing with prediabetes. And so we were actually heading that way with her because we were looking for something for prediabetes, but we both went on the protocol. And just real quick, I, as an engineer, needed to basically dig into it and really understand the protocol. And I studied all the patents around it because I want to make sure it was safe for my family. And so I kind of pushed back a little bit, but I got on it. And I will tell you, Trent, in 16 weeks, I lost 45 pounds. My blood pressure has come down to normal. I really do feel good. And when we talk about fasting, I'd understood the importance of intermittent fasting before, but I couldn't do it. And I actually taught about it, but I could not walk that walk, to be honest with you. And as my gut started healing, taking the fiber, I'm no longer controlled by those cravings and the things that all come along with, craving those foods. And so I just, at the end of the day, I'm not stiff anymore. I feel like I'm in my 20s, high energy. I'm just feeling so good, and I've still got some more weight I want to lose, but it's now starting to tone up and I'm starting to gain that muscle back that I've lost. And then just a real quick one with my wife, she was pre-diabetic. Her fasting blood sugars dropped from 138, and within 2 weeks they were dropped down to 80 and 90, and she also lost 40 some pounds. And then also is off her antidepressant medicines that she had been on for over 30 years. And so it's just helped us just feel better. We've got more energy. We're getting to do the things that we want, do the things with my 13-year-old daughter, and now that even with my 20-year-old son that I just honestly didn't feel like doing. And so that's our story. It really has made a big change in our life.
I love it. I'm going to just show a quick picture that you sent me, Scott. And this is just awesome. This is you and Jennifer. And this is the before. Is that right?
Yep, that's before. Yep.
45 pounds heavier. She's pre-diabetic on the antidepressants. And maybe I missed this, but did you say you're no longer having colitis flare-ups, or are they
No,
less?
yeah, no. And those had calmed down before, Trent, but it's a lot better, right? I still kind of always felt like I was on the edge. And since then, my gut issues have just improved so much because I've actually been able to get rid of all the supplements I was on, and I can get it in that one package, right? And so it's just I kind of came up with my own formula to get there, but it was so hard to control. And this really has just, from a fiber perspective, it's just top notch. And so I just I have been no problems from a colitis perspective in the last year whatsoever. I totally just completely changed. And I've got some psoriasis. Now it's not fully gone, but it's a lot better. My flare-ups aren't there as much as they were. So we're seeing improvement there. It's a lot slower impact there, but we're seeing some major improvements there as well. So just a huge impact to our family.
Well, Scott, thank you so much. I mean, to come on here with 463 perfect strangers plus 10,000 plus more on the Restream, and to share your story and be vulnerable and talk about the things you were having problems with is super inspiring. And you look awesome, man. I mean,
Thank you.
you jumped off the call to me the other day. I was like, he looks better. He looks visibly better, and I can see it, and just really happy for you. So thanks so much, Scott.
Feel a lot better. Thank you, Trent. Thank you.
Okay, amazing, amazing stuff. We love having these stories. We're gonna get to some stuff, and you know, a lot of people may be wondering. Both Tony and Scott referenced our protocol and the stuff that we take. Okay, so I want to explain before we get to our guest of honor. I want to explain what this protocol is that we're doing, so that if you're new, you won't be in the dark as Shanna is talking, or as you hear what we're going to do at the end of the call, you won't be in the dark. I do think it's very, very important to also articulate why we are doing what we're doing. Okay. And so this is something that is very simple, and you can honestly kind of do it for free. In full disclosure, most of us are buying some things that make it much, much easier and make the results go faster. And as somebody that has struggled with dietary discipline my entire life, willpower is always my problem. And this takes willpower out of the equation. And if you remove willpower from the equation, I can do anything, baby, right? Which is how I feel about this protocol. So let's talk about why this is happening. Why is everybody getting sick? And I alluded to this at the beginning, but if you just look at the modern food environment, it's pretty simple. You know, everyone in the world is familiar with white rice, but wild rice in nature actually looks like this over here. And so around every single grain of rice is something called the bran. Now, that is the fiber part of the plant. Food makers remove that part, and we only eat the white part, right? And this white part, as Dr. Eric Aiken puts it, is like the cake part of the plant. This is pure sugar. This white rice is pure sugar. It hits the bloodstream, and it's like you just ate a piece of cake. It spikes blood sugar, okay? The fiber is important. This is what wheat looks like in nature. Take out all the fiber and make products like this, right? Every sugar, every carbohydrate in nature comes packaged in fiber. Every sugar, okay? Even sugars like honey, okay? Honey is not natural. Honey doesn't grow on trees. Honey is processed. It's processed by bees who use nectar from flowers to make honey, right? But every natural carbohydrate is packaged in fiber. When God made sugar, he put it with fiber. Okay, so this apple is a lot of sugar and water, but it's been put in this protective fiber packaging that makes apples very healthy. If you remove the fiber, you're left with, well, just the sugar water. And this sugar water is not healthy. This will cause your blood sugar to spike, your insulin to spike. Your body will start to trigger fat storage and depositing fat, adding more fat to your body. Your appetite will go up. You'll be more ravenous, more hungry, right? This is what has happened with the modern diet. It is all cake. This is cake. Our pasta is cake. Our bread is cake. Our cereal is cake. A lot of our granola bars and, quote, healthy foods are cake. When you remove fiber from food, you start to lose the health benefits of the fiber. Fiber is what controls our blood sugar and insulin. It's what controls our triglycerides and cholesterols. It's what feeds the gut microbiome. It's what keeps us feeling full and helps with weight management. And when you remove all this stuff, you're left with a nation of health problems. This is where Scott was. This is where Scott's wife was. This is where Tony was. This is where most people are today in this country and around the world. Now, one of the problems with these processed foods is they cause our blood sugar to spike. But the other problem is they cause our insulin to spike and often to stay elevated. This, over time, leads to insulin resistance, right? If you have too much of anything, over time, you build up a tolerance. Insulin's the same. And as we become insulin resistant, we lock our bodies in fat storage mode. We cause all kinds of problems to our metabolism and the processes in our body that are normally responsible for getting rid of things like sugar and fat, right? And so what we're doing on this protocol is we are simply doing a little bit of fasting and fiber, okay? So whenever we're not eating, when we're taking a break from food, which we call fasting, our insulin levels come down. And when insulin levels are down, our body is very efficient, very effective at burning fat. When we're taking a break from food, when we're fasting, we're actually not starving. Shanna's going to talk about this, but we're just switching fuel sources. Instead of burning food for fuel, we are burning our fat for fuel, right? And some people will fast with water. Some people may fast with, tea or herbal tea or black coffee, right? But when we take a break from food and keep the insulin down, we become very good at fasting. Now, before our meals, if we can bring the fiber back in, a magical thing happens where our blood sugar doesn't spike, our insulin doesn't spike, our cholesterol and triglycerides are controlled. And so in a perfect world, we would take more breaks from food. That may sound easy, but for me, that has been hard my whole life. Yeah, if I could just stop eating, especially stop eating all those processed foods, right? Well, then I'd be, that advice for me has been just about as helpful as eat less and move more. No kidding. If it were only that simple. I've known that advice my whole life, but getting myself to do it has been difficult, right? And yes, it sounds so easy to just get more plant fiber in your diet, right? More veggies, more seeds, more herbs, more fresh fruit, less carbs, less processed carbs. That again has proved to be difficult for me throughout my life. But if you have the willpower and if you have the money to, buy a garden salad before each of your meals and eat it before you consume the meal, amazing things will happen to your health. Since it's not realistic for me to have a garden salad in my back pocket 24/7, I supplement. And most of us on this call who are following this protocol are doing what I'm about to show you, okay? Instead of fasting and just gritting and bearing it, what we are doing is we are supplementing. And there is a natural supplement, an actual nutraceutical that is in the physician's desk reference called Unimate. And whenever you sip the Unimate, it makes me forget about food. I'm literally a happy faster now. I don't think about food. I'm productive. I'm burning my love handles for breakfast, right? The Unimate makes me forget about food. I can fast forever with Unimate. Then there is something called Balance, a blend of very special, very particular plant fibers and vitamins that I can have in my back pocket. And it's much less than the cost of a garden salad and much more palatable for Trent. And when I have this before my meals, my blood sugar and insulin doesn't spike. I eat less. I've struggled my whole life with overeating. I don't overeat anymore because I have the fiber before my meals. And so this one-two combo, the yellow one whenever I'm not eating and the orange one before my meals, has made all the difference, right? But you can turbocharge this with some intermittent fasting, which is what we're going to talk about next. And I'll come back to this for anybody that has questions. We'll just explain a little bit more about what it is and why it works so well for those that are interested. But the real guest and superstar of our call tonight, who's going to be talking about all things fasting and how to maximize this protocol by using fasting properly, this is Shanna Husson. Now, I have been following Shanna on Instagram for, probably about 3 years, and maybe 6 months or a year ago or so, I got to meet Shanna for the first time. And it was like I was a little starstruck. I was fanboying, okay? Shanna is incredible. She is a registered dietitian from the state of Wisconsin. She's amazing on social media, and she is going to be talking to us today about fasting.
Well, thank you. Thanks for that introduction. Can everybody hear me okay? See me okay? Tony, seriously, it's amazing that my makeup isn't running all over the place because that story is just incredible. And Scott, my middle son was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when he was 11. He's now 21, and he's a happy user of this system. So those stories were just amazing. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to reiterate a lot of the things that Trent just talked about, and hopefully I might even change your mind about fasting, because fasting, let me see here. Let me get to, okay. Can you see that? Okay. Is
Perfect. Looks great.
Okay, great. Okay. So fasting can be kind of scary. Like when I've been talking about intermittent fasting as part of the protocol as a metabolic health expert to try to reverse insulin resistance for about 8 years. I love it so much that I actually wrote a book on it that you can find on Amazon called Fast to Heal. And what I have found is it's a very, very useful tool with reversing insulin resistance and getting people more metabolically healthy, but it can be challenging also. And it can be challenging for people to stick with. Like, I've had so many people in my community who have been like, I was in your groups and I was doing so great and I was intermittent fasting and doing all the things, and then I just fell off the wagon. And now here I am back again, and I'm just trying to get back on. So we're going to talk about why fasting works, fasting and insulin resistance, benefits of fasting really quickly. Trent already talked a little bit about these common fasting mistakes, and this is where learning some of these tips might just be really useful for you so that you can stay in a spot where you're doing more fasting than eating, and how to make fasting easier, because nobody likes to be hungry and nobody wants to feel deprived, and we don't want to feel like, we're restricted, and that's just no fun. We want to live life like humans are meant to live life. So basically, like Trent said, fasting is when you're not eating. And so we're either in a fed state or we're in a fasted state. And the problem with how we eat as humans in the Western cultures, we eat way too often. The average American puts food in their mouth or eats something or drinks something with caloric value about 13 times a day. And that is just spiking insulin and making us very insulin resistant and metabolically unhealthy. And it's no fault of our own. We've been told, since I was a little girl, like, eat very often, eat all these healthy whole grains. And, you have to stoke your metabolism. And so I bought into this. I was insulin resistant myself, and it was really frustrating. I was having trouble controlling my weight. I was having food cravings. I was thinking about food all the time. And so people today just spend very little time in the fasted state. And there's a lot of people who just never, because of their lifestyle, just really are never dipping into fat burning. They're just burning carbohydrate all the time because they're eating all day until the time they go to bed. They're not burning through all of their carbohydrate stores and then eating again right when they wake up. And they're just perpetual carb burners. And this can be very problematic over time. So what is the point of intermittent fasting? Like, eating's fun, right? Like, just sit here and say, like, it's not fun to eat, because it definitely is. But when we eat, every time we eat, blood sugar rises, especially if we're eating processed foods and sugar and carbohydrates, which are very apparent. We take in about 60 to 70% of our caloric value from carbohydrates and ultra processed foods. Insulin rises. And this is a problem day after day, week after week, month after month. And so when we stop eating, this is honestly, fasting is the fastest way that you are going to start to reverse insulin resistance, is to be in a fasted state more than you're in a fed state. And again, that can sound scary. A lot of times when I approach people with, and the word fasting comes out of their mouth, I could just see them like, like, please don't say that word. That doesn't sound fun to me. But when we stop eating, our insulin levels begin to fall. And that's super important to start to restore metabolic health. Poor metabolic health leads to all the things that Trent was talking about with insulin resistance. So you have fatty liver, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. They're all connected. So if you can attack and start to optimize and reverse this one issue, so many things are going to start to improve, just like you saw with Tony, just like you saw with Scott. And so when insulin levels fall, all of a sudden, our fat burning machinery can kick in. And like I said, some people have not been able to tap into fat burning maybe for their whole life. So fasting can support weight loss. Yes, a lot of you are probably here because you want to lose some weight, but really it's about blood sugar regulation so that you can go longer periods of time without eating. It helps to improve fatty liver, blood sugar regulation, and metabolic health overall. And so really, in my community, what I strive for is to get people insulin sensitive again, because when you have insulin resistance, you have all of those symptoms. So we are kind of right here with most American adults and really in the Western culture, and even, you know, those outside the Western culture, not insulin sensitive anymore because of what we're eating, how often we're eating. And so most people think, okay, you know, fasting burns fat, right? Burn some calories, burn some fat. Yes, that is true. But how I want you to think about it and think about intermittent fasting is that it's lowering your insulin levels, okay? Especially if you're insulin resistant. And if you have any of the diseases, that chronic diseases that we talked about, or the symptoms, you are insulin resistant. So fasting lowers insulin more than anything else, because if you're not eating, you can't raise your blood sugar and you can't raise your insulin. Well, I shouldn't say you can't ever raise blood sugar. Stress and some other things can definitely play a role. But if you're not eating, you're going to significantly lower your insulin. Lower insulin helps the body gain access to that stored energy. When you are insulin resistant, you have high levels of insulin. It doesn't matter if you have 100, 200 pounds of extra fat. Your brain is not getting the signal that you have all this fat in storage because it just wants to keep burning sugar and carbohydrates. So this is why fasting can be so effective for insulin resistance and restoring that metabolic health. That's really your goal. And so we talked about how it's really hard to lose weight when you're insulin resistant, the belly fat, the elevated triglycerides, fatty liver, all of the things. And so that's why we're bringing the protocol with that Trent was talking about, along with fasting. Oh my gosh, the results are absolutely insane. And so really the goals are, like I was saying, to stabilize the blood sugar, mental clarity. There are things that fasting brings about that are just so dynamic. So digestive improvements. Most people that I talk to, you can't tell by looking at them. And I know this, you know, having a son with ulcerative colitis, you can't tell by looking at them that they have digestive issues. It is crazy how many people I talk to, and doesn't matter how old they are, digestive issues. So this really, really helps to not only reverse insulin resistance, fasting helps to improve digestive issues as well, because you're giving the gut some rest, some much needed rest. And so, as we talked about, the hardest part about fasting is that you get hungry, right? Like that's just no fun. I've been an intermittent faster for a good 8 years, and I'm not going to say I've never been hungry while I'm fasting, because it's just like, oh, my stomach's growling, and it can be, you know, all you can think about. And so the tools that in the system, the protocol that we've talked about, make fasting so much easier. But other things that help to keep you in a fasted state are eating proper protein, getting proper sleep. We don't have time to get into that right now, but intermittent fasting and stabilizing the blood sugar can actually help you to sleep, especially if you have several more hours before you go to bed that you're in a fasted state than you didn't used to have before. And also, sometimes people don't pay attention to their circadian rhythm, but that is another thing that can really help to optimize our metabolic health. And I'll talk about women in fasting, because I know that that's a huge topic, and a lot of women at this point are afraid to fast at all. But I have worked with thousands of women over the course of my career, 26-year career. And we can get into that just a bit, but that fiber is going to help to balance the blood sugar. The tea that we were talking about helps to naturally boost GLP-1. And so it just keeps you in a fast a lot longer than if you weren't using these tools. Now, where fasting can start to derail is if you're eating a ton of processed foods, you know, maybe you're getting a good fast in, and then all of a sudden you're eating for 8 hours straight and you're eating all these processed foods and you're spiking your insulin and you've just negated everything that you did in that fast. And so we want to avoid that, not eating enough protein or nourishment, too much fasting too quickly. I'll talk about how to get started, but we don't need to, you know, jump into these 24-hour fasts in order for fasting to be effective. And also ignoring circadian rhythm, sleep, and stress. Those are all things we need to pay attention to when we are implementing some intermittent fasting. And then I don't want you to think of, and I've been guilty of this myself, where I've had a weekend where, you know, like I ate some things that I typically don't eat, but I don't want you to think of fasting as like undoing things in your lifestyle that maybe are out of the ordinary. So to maximize the results, we just want to think of fasting as a metabolic tool that's going to help us reverse insulin resistance and restore that metabolic flexibility. Now, I do want to spend just a minute on women and fasting because there is a lot of information out there and it's hard to decipher what to actually pull from. So I will say, like, women fasting is different than men fasting. Our hormones are fluctuating every single day, especially if you're still cycling. When we're menstruating, things are a little bit different. When you're through menopause, fasting becomes a little bit easier. And so our goal as women is not always like these big long fasts, but to pay attention to where we are in our cycle. And when you use the system, you get access to this beautiful app that you can actually track your cycles in, and it will give you some guidelines and some recommendations on fasting, which is just, I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. So as a woman, what I would say is we just need to pay attention to where we are in our cycles. You know, don't make yourself, you know, complete this 18-hour fast if you're just like, I feel like I really need to eat. And another way is, so for me, I used to fast all morning. I did this for years, 5-6 years. And it just became a stressor for me. And so that works really well for a lot of people. So I'm not saying that you should completely switch your protocol. But for me, I eat breakfast and I eat a late lunch. I'm usually done eating by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I get a good long fast in. So you can do it that way too. Now, do what works for you and your family, but that works really well for me. So I don't want you to use fasting as a competition. It's not about, you know, how long you can go. It's about consistency with the protocol, consistency with your intermittent fasting. And you can start with something as simple as a 12-12, meaning 12 hours of gut rest, 12 hours in a fed state. That's where I would suggest everybody start if you're like, oh, this fasting thing is too much for me. And there are so many people who start the protocol and they're not fasting at all. And so what I guide them with is, okay, let's just do 3 square meals, stop snacking in between meals, stop eating before bed, nourish yourself for 3 meals, start the protocol. I can't tell you how many people I get messages, emails, direct messages all day. Shanna, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not hungry for dinner. What should I do? I'm like, listen to your body. Go through that meal. Like, you don't have to eat dinner. You have body fat to burn. And so we want to take advantage of those fasting times. You don't force yourself to eat if you're not hungry, but yet if you, like, I can tell, being metabolically flexible, I can tell when I really need to eat. I can tell when I can go fast. And so what I think we've been taught as a culture is like, eat at 7, eat at noon, eat at 5:30. Like, we have to eat at these set times. Whereas when you get metabolically flexible and your appetite regulation is working well, you can be so flexible. And so really you want to individualize based on your goals. Like, what are your goals? Your goals are probably different than mine. What are your goals? What's your health history? Do you have some severe chronic disease that we're trying to work through or not? And where are you starting from? Are you eating 8 times a day right now? Well, we don't want to push you into a 24-hour fast. Like, that would not work well for you. If you are very insulin resistant, you have some chronic disease to reverse, more fasting can be just fine for you because your body's going to utilize that stored body fat. Somebody who is a healthy weight and metabolically sensitive, we don't need to do as much fasting. I did way more fasting a couple of years ago than I do now because I had insulin resistance just because of the guidelines that I followed. It's reversed. And so now I don't have to do as much fasting, but my goals are different now. My health history is different, and I'm starting from a different point. Okay, a lot of people think they're going to lose muscle when they fast, but we don't. We actually, as we fast, we increase human growth hormone, and that protects our muscle mass. And so again, we can overdo it. We don't want to overdo things. Like, more fasting is not always better, but your goal when you are eating is to eat enough protein, do some strength training, and don't think of this as a chronic diet. But definitely, you know, like I said, women think that they can't do the fasting, they can't do, you know, they can't do strength training, so they're going to bulk up. I've been strength training for 30 years. I mean, you don't see you don't see a ton of bulk on me. So just don't be afraid to get started with that. And so really, when we're looking at intermittent fasting, it's one tool, and it's a very, very powerful tool, very powerful tool. The body heals when you're in a fasted state. Digestion is very metabolically taxing. It's the most taxing thing that the human body has to do. Every time you put food in your mouth, it can't just sit in your stomach. You can't just let it sit there. Your body can't just be like, oh, there's food here, I'm going to save that for later. No, it has to digest now. So fasting is a very powerful tool, lets the body heal. Don't use it as a punishment. Goal isn't starvation. It's to lower insulin so you can be more metabolically healthy. And last thing I'll say, and I'll turn it back over to Trent, you cannot out fast poor sleep, poor nutrition, chronic stress, and no sunlight. So those things have to be in place as well. So I hope that helps. If you have questions, please let me know. That was kind of a basic overview. But the protocol plus fasting together, very, very powerful in reversing metabolic disease. Sorry, it's really dark behind me now.
Your lighting on you is good though. You've created a good, what is the opposite of a silhouette? You're spotlit and it looks good. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was incredible. Guys, Shanna is one of the very, very best. If you wanted to follow her and see what she does, maybe she could put her handle in the chat. Thank you so much, Shanna. This has just been awesome. Okay, so the best part of this call may seem like it's over because Shanna's already spoken and we've had Scott and we've had Tony, and this has been incredible, right? But I mean, personally, my favorite part of the call is coming in just a couple minutes. Okay, so just hang on for a couple more minutes. We're almost done. But I think you're really going to want to see what's about to happen in a couple minutes. Okay, now for those of you who are not on the protocol yet, okay, if you're not on this protocol yet, if you've never tried the protocol, would you put a new in the chat for me? Put a new in the chat if you've not tried this protocol and are kind of like, I don't know, what is this all about? Maybe you're a little skeptical, right? Great. We've got lots of new people, and especially on the restreams, lots and lots and lots of new people. Okay, do me another favor. If you're a medical professional, let's say that you're a doctor or a nurse or a chiropractor or a dietitian or nutritionist or diabetes educator. If you're in the medical community, could you put medical for me in the chat? I want to give a quick salute to all the wonderful medical professionals who are helping us take this protocol global. This is so exciting. We love you. We're grateful for you. We can't have enough medical professionals. There's lots of us who are not medical professionals who are passionate about this. Thank you to all of you who are here spreading awareness. Let me just break down the protocol really, really simply for the new people. And this will go fast, and then we're going to get to the very, very best part of the call here in just a moment. Okay. So this protocol is definitely not, voodoo or witchcraft or, snake oil. Okay. This is something that now has been patented. There are more than 20, probably more like 30 or 40 now, clinical studies that have been done on it. It was originally developed by the Rexall name, if you've ever heard of Rexall. It's been studied at the Cleveland Clinic, the #1 heart hospital in the world. Wait till you see what they said about this protocol. It is going to change the world. I'm telling you guys, this is real. It is safe. It is natural. There are no medications in it. So this would be classified as a nutraceutical, something that is clinically effective at like a pharmaceutical grade level, but there are no medications or drugs in it. My favorite thing about it, favorite thing number one, is that it is guaranteed to work. So if you use it properly and are consistent, it will work for you. If for whatever reason you were to decide that you either didn't like it, maybe you didn't care for it, it wasn't your cup of tea, or if you were unsatisfied and the results you didn't feel lived up to the hype, well, then you could just get a refund. You can use it for 90 days. And if you're not totally sold and satisfied, just get a refund, right? Isn't that awesome? My favorite thing number two about it is that it is cost neutral. Okay. So let's examine that real fast. And then we're going to get to the best part. The Unimate is used whenever you are not eating. You sip the Unimate when not eating. You don't have to sip it, but I like to sip it. In fact, I'm sipping mine here, okay? I will sip my Unimate whenever I'm not eating. This blocks out the food noise. It raises GLP-1. Shannon made a lot of great comments about it. I won't go into too much geeky science because we don't have a lot of time. The balance, you're going to chug. So chug before eating. So before my meals, I will take this blend of plant fiber. Guys, in the coming years, you will start seeing this orange packet, this plant fiber. You're going to see it in donut shops in Pakistan, in coffee shops in Mexico. You'll see it at restaurants. You'll go to Thanksgiving dinner and your Uncle Eddie will be in the corner mixing up this orange fiber and chugging it down before Thanksgiving dinner, because it will be common knowledge that when you have this orange packet before you eat that donut or that Thanksgiving dinner or whatever, your blood sugar won't spike the way it otherwise would. Your insulin won't spike the way it otherwise would. The cholesterol, the triglycerides, the appetite are all controlled, okay? You heard Tony's story. Her sugars were in the 600s, and today they're in the 90s. This is going to change the world. This protocol is going to change the world. Now, it is very simple. We've talked about how to use it. There are instructions that come with it. You will have an app that will help coach you so that you know exactly what to do. You'll have access to our Facebook group, a private community called the Feel Great Family, where you will have thousands of other people who are living this protocol daily in your corner there to support you. Now, if you were to go to Amazon or the manufacturer's website to try and buy this protocol, it would cost about $235 plus tax plus shipping. But because you're here tonight on this call, you will never, ever, ever pay the price that everybody else pays, okay? You will have a discounted price forever. Whoever invited you to this call, or whoever your link or connection was to this call, simply ask them, send them a text message right now that says, send me the link. And they are going to send you a discounted link, okay? So they're going to send you a discounted link, which will bring the price down by about $80. Throw in the free shipping, it's really, really big savings, okay? Now, if you do the math, favorite thing number two is that it's cost neutral. Well, how much are you going to save when you skip a meal? How much are you going to save when you skip a snack, right? Well, at least $5 to $10 a day is what I found I save. In fact, I save more like 10 to 15 a day. And if you're getting a discounted price where it costs $5.30 a day with your discount, this pays for itself. In fact, I have felt like I've gotten richer as my health has gotten better on this protocol. If you're saving money on this protocol, if you've noticed that, would you put a $sign in the chat for me? Okay, I want people to see this is a money saver. Now, this is my favorite part of the call. And as you see what's about to happen, I want you to ask yourself, what if your results could be similar to this? What if this could be the thing that finally worked for you when nothing else would? What else would happen if you were able to get a hold of your health? I mean, you heard Tony and Scott, right, in their stories. So if you have been on this protocol, there's 400 plus people here in the chat. If you have been on this protocol for more than a day, well, I don't care how long you've been on, whether you've been on it for a week or a month or a year or longer, if you have noticed a measurable positive difference. Now, I don't want anybody to exaggerate, okay? Just if you have noticed a measurable positive change in your body or in the body of somebody in your household, would you put a sentence or two in the chat? I want the new people here to see what this is doing for our listeners. Trent's clearly excited about it, but what is it doing for the average Joe and Jane who are living this protocol. And I'm going to read a few of these as we wrap up the call, and I wish I had time to read them all. They're coming in faster than I can read, so I better scroll back just a little bit. Okay, let's read. Holy cow, this is awesome. Start with this one. Troy, after donating a kidney 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. After getting on this protocol, I have reversed stage 4 kidney disease. I've lost 32 pounds. My migraines that I had for 23 years stemming from a bicycle accident are gone. Brain fog, anxiety, depression, sleep apnea, acid reflux, all gone. Renee, what's up, Renee? Renee's a regular. Hey, Renee, 2.5 years. I'm down 100 pounds, off my meds for vertigo, inflammation gone, depression, side of grief alleviated, better sleep and energy. Deb Saunders said headaches, fatigue, low testosterone, and allergies are gone. Down 75 pounds, feeling amazing, more energy. IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, gone. James Davis, I am down 70 pounds. My A1C of 19 is now down to 7. My triglycerides of 288 are down to 88. Feel great, lots of energy, sleep through the night. Blood sugar was over 1,000. Now my blood sugars are 80. Carrie Marshall, I lost 29 pounds in under 4 months. I was dealing with kidney and gallbladder pain and nauseous every day. I was on medication for nausea. It all went away my first few days. I'm so thankful for this system. Alan Kashner, I reversed my diabetes and fatty liver, got off 6 medications and lost 72 pounds. Tanya Lee says A1C went from a 10 to a 4.9, down 45 pounds, off 4 medications, reduced 24/7 oxygen use of 17 years to nighttime only. No more fatigue, no more daily naps. Feel better at 51 than I did at 31. Warlicia, hey, Warlicia Fata says, I've lost almost 40 pounds, no longer pre-diabetic, no need for my glasses, no longer fatigue, no more sciatica pain, haven't had a migraine in a year, and I now run marathons. Gigi, an RN says, I'm 100 days on the protocol. Hey, that's awesome, Gigi. Kim Jackson, what's up, Kim? Wow, I'm off all my medications, 63 years down from 250 to 150 in weight. A1C went from an 8 to a 4.5. Sleep better, work longer, playing pickleball, living life again. I'm a lifer. Mila says, in 6 months, I released 50 plus pounds, reversed high blood pressure and depression. Brittany Held, been on the protocol for 1.5 years. Reversed type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, anxiety, and gout. My A1C went from a 6.6 to a 4.6. I've lost 50 pounds off all medications, life-changing. Carolyn Clark, I've lost 20 pounds of body fat, got rid of inflammation, and no longer have fatty liver. And my joy has returned. I look and feel like a different person. Jim Ciccarelli, I have lost 130 pounds, improved energy and mental clarity, reversed type 2 diabetes, lowered triglycerides, improved cholesterol, normalized blood pressure, balanced my hormones. Nicole Farnsworth says, we save so much money simply because we don't buy soda anymore. She's replaced her soda with Unimante. That's awesome. Jennifer Winder, since starting this protocol, I've lost 45 pounds. My A1C is now in the healthy range, no longer pre-diabetic. My energy's up, and I'm sleeping better than I have in years. There are 99 plus, so over 100 more additional messages here that we do not have time to read. Listen, these stories are from the audience. I want to be responsible and say, this is something that has been life-changing for me, and as you can see, many other people. These stories may be anecdotal, but the clinical studies are real. This has been studied over and over. This is not magic. It's just good science. When they started taking fiber out of food and we started eating and snacking all the time, we got sick. Now we bring the fiber back, do a little bit of fasting and fiber, we can get unsick. What if, as you read over those comments, what if this could do for you what it's done for others? What if this was the thing that finally worked for you when nothing else would? What if you were meant to be on this call tonight because this was your big breakthrough? What if there's a reason you're here? What else would happen in your life, your career, your relationships, your self-confidence if your health wasn't an issue anymore? Now, if you're healthy already, I have found that the healthier people are, the more they love this protocol. Did you hear Shanna, who is fit as a fiddle, talking about this protocol and why she loves it so much? We have Olympians on it. We have athletes on it. We have power lifters on it. We have distance runners on this protocol. People that prioritize their health love prioritizing their health with things like this, right? And why not? I mean, why not try something that is guaranteed to work and is cost neutral and is natural? Why not try something that you can literally try for 90 days, and if it doesn't deliver, you can just get a refund? If you're sitting on the fence, I encourage you to get off the fence. This is the best thing that ever happened to my health and to many of my loved ones. If you or somebody you love is struggling with their metabolic health, please invite them to this call next week. They will thank you later. Thank you, Shanna Husson, registered dietitian from Wisconsin. Amazing job. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Scott. Incredible call. And thank you to all of you in the comments. We've got some great comment warriors tonight, don't we? That are sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your stories. That honestly is my favorite part of the call. Grateful for each of you. You guys are awesome. Look at what we're doing. We're going to cover the planet, and it's all thanks to you. So we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same link.